In context of what we're going through right now with the pandemic, why is this such a tough time for those younger kids, especially those who had been having trouble connecting with their peers?
One of the things we've learned from developmental research is that these early school years are really a fundamental time to develop basic social emotional skills. How to get along with other people, how to be more aware of the impact your behavior has on their feelings, their behavior has on your feelings, how to manage strong feelings, how to manage conflicts. In fact, we know, we've had research that has shown that the social competence a child shows at school in kindergarten is a really good predictor of later life success. It predicts the likelihood they're going to graduate from high school, their employment status, whether they stay out of trouble with the law. It's really foundational for the experiences that they're going to have both in school and out of school in relationships later in life. So one of the things we really worry about with the pandemic is they are not being given the usual opportunity to experience peer interactions in a supportive context where adults are able to give them advice and help them learn how to have these relationships effectively.
You and your colleagues have studied the topic of peer rejection and isolation. Is this something that wouldn't parents know that this is going on, or is it more likely that a teacher would pick up that there's a problem? How common is it in these early years?
When we talk about children who are rejected, these are really children who do not have friends or do not have many friends. Classmates don't like them very much. And on top of that, classmates dislike them. A majority of classmates dislike them. And that experience of being disliked has a very negative effect on the way children feel about themselves, on the experiences that they have. Children respond in very different ways. So some rejected children are angry. You see them engaging a lot with peers, but having a lot of constant conflicts. But other rejected children are very hurt. They feel very anxious and they withdraw. Some rejected children are almost unaware. They're kind of atypical and socially awkward. And so it can be challenging for teachers and parents to spot peer difficulties.
What can teachers do? And are most teachers in tune with this or not so much?
I think the biggest thing that can happen in a school context is teachers have a lot on their plate. They're focused on the academics, they're focused on classroom management, classroom behavior. It's easy for them to miss what's happening in children's social emotional development and how they're doing in peer relations. Most teachers, given the opportunity and support to really pay attention to this and think about it, and given some information about what are the signs to look for, can become pretty attuned to what's happening with children's peer relations. And they become very often the key informants about difficulties. A parent can miss it because a parent doesn't see their child in a peer group setting very often. So the child may be fine at home. They might not complain about having peer difficulties. We really recommend that parents bring up the subject with teachers. When they have their conferences, how do you feel peer interactions are going? Does my child have friends in the classroom? Are they having negative experiences? Are they feeling left out? Or do you see them being left out? Or are they having conflicts? Teachers may not feel comfortable bridging these issues with parents, but when parents ask for information, it gives that teacher permission to comment on what they're observing and open a problem-solving dialogue about it.
How common is this among young children?
It's very common in the early elementary years to have challenges getting along with peers. These are the years when children are learning the skills that they need. But children who experience peer rejection, we estimate 10 to 15%, so on average, maybe 2 to 3 children in a typical classroom setting. Now, children may have periodic, short-term periods where they're not getting along or there's just no one in this particular class that they connect with. We worry when it's a more chronic difficulty that really stretches across the peer interactions that they're having.
You and your colleagues studied a program or a project that is working with some success, according to your studies in schools. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
One of the things that we're seeing nationally is schools becoming more interested in what they can do to support positive social interactions, positive social emotional skill development. And there are programs that teachers can deliver in the classroom, but those often are not, they aren't intense enough to help children who are peer rejected and really need more support. So our program, the Friendship Connections program, moves into a school to sort of target the needs of children who are being rejected by peers. We do that with a small group program that includes children who are rejected, but also classmates that they're hoping to make friends with, classmates maybe that they have conflicts with and need to learn to get along with. And in this small group, we do activities designed to help them build the skills they need to communicate more effectively, to manage their feelings, to work through problems that they're having. And the goal is really build their skills and build their confidence. And also, by including classmates, give children in that classroom positive experiences with each other that carry forward and back out of the group into their day-to-day experiences.
What have you found?
Our program extends over the period of a year. We work with a classroom over a year. We've seen really positive effects. We've seen growth in the social skills that we focus on in the groups, but we also can see teachers seeing changes in more positive social interaction, better communication skills, more self-control in the classroom. We see teachers reporting decreases in the problem behaviors, the kind of conflicts, disruptiveness with peers that sometimes occurs. And I think most importantly, we see improvements in the friendships that children have in the classroom and the way that peers feel about these children. So it really is a program that enhances the children's skills, but also enhances that whole social climate in the classroom as a whole.
Why is it important to intervene early?
Unfortunately, one of the things we know about peer rejection is it becomes a negative cascade for children. So children who are most likely to be rejected have some kind of social skill deficit. They're doing something that's either annoying or off-putting to others. But once they experience a negative peer reputation, that becomes now a hostile environment for them. It would be like going to work every day when nobody at your workplace likes you. Very challenging, very, very difficult, and it makes children either angry or anxious, sometimes both. It becomes a sort of snowball because the more anxious you are and the more that you fail to engage positively with peers, the more you're delayed in having the experiences that build social skills. So it kind of becomes a snowball. Skill deficits to negative peer experiences to more skill deficits to more negative peer experiences. And we see by the adolescent years, it predicts depression, anxiety, truancy. Kids don't want to go to school. Increases in problem behavior. So we want to catch it early, nip it in the bud, facilitate these relationship skills when the child can turn around that negative snowball for themselves.
Is there anything else that they are able to do proactively with their kids at home, especially right now with the pandemic, to help with those skills?
Yes, definitely. So one thing that I like to tell parents, it's important to understand these are skills that develop over time. And so just like if your child was having trouble reading, you wouldn't scold them over the problems they're having. Sometimes what happens in social interactions is a parent sees their child behaving in an unskilled way and wants to sort of scold them. Don't behave that way, don't do that. That's not very helpful to children. In fact, it can almost put them on the spot with peers. What they really need are problem-solving discussions with parents where parents ask them what happened, how were you feeling? What else could have you done differently? Or let's think about how we can set up that experience next time in a way that goes better for you and goes better for your friend. They really can have these kinds of coaching interactions that help children think about how can they manage this relationship better. Parents can also, they can look for opportunities for social interaction. It's important for them to monitor and think about who are the peers that their child might best develop relationships with. Sometimes when children are rejected, they end up looking for other rejected children to spend time with. Sometimes this can lead to learning bad habits from someone else who has bad habits. And so that's sort of monitoring who are social playmates that really could be positive influences for positive opportunities for their child.
So activities, things that they're interested in?
Absolutely. Extracurricular activities of whatever kind the child is interested can be good. Setting up social experiences, often having some structure where there's a common activity that children can do together, facilitates a positive social interaction and learning opportunity.
Could you give me an example of one of those?
Scouting, an interest club of some kind that children share an interest in. For many children, arts and crafts, or where you're learning, some kind of activity ideally that involves communication. Sports can be good, but sports often are so focused on the game, there's not a lot of focus on the communication and relationship opportunities.
Where is the Friendship Connection program? Is it just piloted here in this area? Is it a nationwide program?
It's actually been used a number of different places. Right now, it's being used in some parts of Canada, some parts of the United Kingdom, Ireland, as well as places locally in Pennsylvania.
Is it throughout the U.S. or just international and here in PA?
It definitely has the capacity to be used in more places in the U.S. In our study, we were validating, is this program worth the time and effort? Can you show that it has the kinds of effects that make it worthwhile for a school to, spend the time organizing around this program? And we do offer training. We have a published manual that leads group leaders through how to run the program in schools.
How many classrooms did you study?
In our study, we worked with a total of, we had 124 classrooms that used the program. We were comparing classrooms just assigned by lottery to try out the program with classrooms that were just doing the usual practice, however they would usually work with children. So we worked all together with 212 classrooms, and that comparison is how we evaluated the added benefit of the program.